Hi, I'm Box.
And I'm Riggable.
And I'm Couch Guy.
And you're watching the Two Smart Guys show, where every week we bring you the best and greatest things to do to your personal gadgets to make them better.
And you're at like the mecca of like personal gadgets.
I am, and there's a... So I'm at CES this week, and I've noticed a theme here. Everything that I'm seeing is stuff we've been doing on this show for the last 2 or 3 years. Is just now coming to market.
Such as what?
I'll get into that. Okay, so
don't tease us like that.
Just for everybody watching, you may have seen I did one video earlier of CES Unveiled, which was just like this press event. And since then, I've been getting like hours and hours of interviews, and I've been going like crazy. And so this episode, I'm just going to do like a quick overview, some highlights of things that caught my attention. And then later I'll be releasing individual videos with some of the interviews, like little 10, 15-minute episodes of like 4 or 5 interviews apiece.
That's a lot of interviews.
There is a lot of interviews. And I got a really cool rig set up right now that's working really well. Yeah, Magic Lantern rocks, by the way. It made things a million times easier.
So yeah, what it looked like the new Magic Lantern mostly had stuff for just video.
Yeah, that's all it's ever been for. Pretty much.
Okay.
But it allows you to zoom in and focus while you're recording and monitor your audio, which are 2 things that you normally can't do. And it allows you to monitor your audio through the earphone piece jack on the 5D, which you normally can't do either.
That's a lot of help.
And
they didn't list it in their little wiki. All they listed on their wiki was like HDR and the frame rate control for video.
Yeah, so this is the rig that I'm shooting the interviews on. Right here is this 5D Mark II with the Z Finder on the back, and then I snap on the zoom on the top here, and then I actually feed the audio right into the 5D. That way I don't have to sync it later in post. I can just edit it right away.
Yeah. Oh, and you can get past AGC because you're using Magic Lantern.
Right. Which actually in the newer firmwares they've disabled if you're in manual mode, but you can actually monitor it now with Magic Lantern.
Okay, so enough talking about gear. I want to know what you're finding, man. I want to know what they're doing that we've been doing.
Okay, now just to piss off Raggable, we're going to talk about TVs first. TVs. And this is only by request. There's a little company that was getting into the game, albeit, I think, a little late. And they're really interesting.
It's not a little company.
Just a little company. They were showing off Ubuntu TV. And actually, at this point, it's just like a ultra alpha build of Ubuntu that's made for live television, DVR type activity.
It's going to be sexy.
Maybe.
Interesting.
I was slightly disappointed in the fact that they didn't have it really working. They didn't have any cable or anything there, so they couldn't show a whole lot. This Ubuntu was in a TV either. It was just a PC hooked up to a TV, and they want to get it into TVs. Same thing as Boxy has done. Same thing as Google TV has done. And there's another company that I interviewed. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they have a similar premise as well. They have a little box that you plug into your cable, and it streams to like apps on like Boxy or Roku or all these different devices, so that you can do your DVR live TV functionality through a network. So you can have like 5 people log in, or your iPad or your tablet.
That's only the real complaint I had about Google TV is because if they had added a DVR aspect to that, even if you had to put an external hard drive on it, that didn't have to go through Dish Network, because what it did is it cheated and went through Dish Network. If you see a DVR setting or things like that, Boxy doesn't have a DVR until recently because they now have the Boxy TV, but I don't think they're DVR. I think they're just Boxy TV.
It's Boxy TV right now, and they're building a DVR later. But you have to.
So they haven't.
You have to hook up storage to the Boxy box, so you got to plug in like a USB something.
But that's not a big deal because you hook a USB 1 terabyte drive and you're done.
Yeah. So they're going to get there eventually, but they haven't yet. And from my observation, nobody yet is doing it with cable card. So all you get are your analog cable or your digital over-the-air channels. So no premium channels, none of that.
Yeah.
And their answer is, well, you just use the apps for that. because like.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, the apps are.
They're not all there yet, but more of them are getting there.
Yeah,
well, that's always been a big fall point for those smart TVs is their apps that they tout. Well, they're usually underpowered, they're clumsy, they're clunky, they don't. They're not very fun to use.
Except for the fact that Google TV was like completely ditched by everybody. I think I like Google TV and Boxy the best.
Google
Boxy,
TV
when it got dumped, Boxy became just as bad as Google TV in my opinion.
When it got dumped from
when
PC?
When it couldn't do Hulu, when it couldn't do a bunch of other things like that, it became the same as a Boxy or as a Google TV.
Hey man, don't talk bad about the Boxy. I'm still supporting them.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No talking bad about Boxy. Boxy's still a fantastic product, but the problem is that without the support of all of the outside market with Hulu, things like that were given the big rejection. It's kind of a weird, how do you get your content without having to watch it in a quarter VGA screen?
Yeah. More interesting TV news is LG. They're doing streaming gaming on their TVs now. Like they were showing Street Fighter.
There's a lot of people doing that.
Street Fighter 4 3D, and it looked identical to the Xbox 360 version, except for it was in 3D, and it was streaming. So what they're doing is, they get the controller. It looked like an Xbox controller, and it does it on the back end and just streams the game to you.
The content.
Yeah.
I think that's what, in the end, that's what Netflix is going to push for, because I know GameFly was talking about that, and I think that if Netflix gets into the gaming side of it, that's what they want to do.
And there's already,
I really can't see this working. I cannot see this working. People have trouble streaming HD movies, which are like 3 gigs, and it's like, we can barely support Netflix. It uses so much. Now you're going to stream a game that can use up to 60 gigs?
No, the game's not streaming, just the video streaming.
Just the video streaming.
Yeah, the video, the video of the... It's like a terminal service.
They used to do this with Sega systems back in the day with your cable system. You used to be able to get the cable game, and it looked like a little Sega box that you could plug in, but that was back when Segas were,
But that was actually downloading the game, and then you'd play it. It would load it into memory, and then you'd actually play it off the system. This is just streaming the video. So they're saying that it's a future-proof TV because all the content's streamed, so as the back-end hardware gets better, you won't need to upgrade your TV. This is what they're saying.
Yeah. Until they do a big firmware upgrade.
Or they're going to say, you need a bigger contrast ratio, or you need the faster refresh rate, or, That's the other thing, is bigger is better this year, so they've got like 80 inchers and stuff out now. Big TVs. Enough with TVs.
What else is fancy out there?
Cars. For some weird reason, everybody and their brother has like Lamborghinis and Porsches and like really fancy cars in their booths.
Why?
I don't know.
Because there's nobody has money, so they're going out for free.
Like, there's this one company called Chameleon, and they make DVD player headrests, right? That you put on the back of the front seat so that the kids can watch DVDs in the back from the back seat. So they had a really fancy car, but it was a coupe. So like, there are no back seats. They didn't have their product in the car. They just had a fancy car there.
Look at the car we have that doesn't use our product. That seems like a PR fail.
Why?
Like, you need a massive like 4Runner or something like that, one of those monster SUVs, and then they can do it.
They had a what was it? Modern War. What is it? What is that big game? Is it Modern Warfare 3? The really like one that sold a bazillion units like a couple weeks ago.
That's the new one, yeah. Modern 3.
Yeah. So they had a Jeep that was branded. It was a Modern Warfare 3 edition of the Jeep. And
nice.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. And then NVIDIA is apparently making cars, or so it looked like at the booth. Really, they're making the infotainment system for the Audi cars. So,
Infotainment.
Yes, that is really big this year. Infotainment center. So like in my car, it's the center console, and that's how you get to your MP3, your satellite radio. A lot of them now are streaming or have apps, or they connect to your phone and have apps on your phone that stream to the car. So like for Pandora or Last.fm or all those things. And then they had they have 2 Chevy Volts there that are set up so that you actually have like tablets in the back seats of the headrest for the kids, and then you can send games back to them, so like Angry Birds or YouTube, and you control it from the main console, so you can send things back. And then it's set up with LTE so they can Skype, so they can Skype back to other people, and it was
backseat conferencing.
Look at all the stuff you should be doing other than driving your car.
It was their concepts. They're not real. They're no real product. They're just showing what is possible with you if you have a whole hell of a lot of bandwidth.
Which you'll never
That's
have.
like getting to the point where you're going to need a co-pilot just to drive your car.
Making things more easier for the driver on the car. Wireless power. Like my Volt is plug-in, so I got to plug it in to charge it. Qualcomm, I did an interview with them and one of their main people, and they were showing me a wireless charging system, and it like just kind of mounts underneath the car, or they'll start building it into cars, and you just drive over it. And so you just put it in your garage.
So it's the induction power system.
Yeah, it's induction, so it's just they were
Just
touting.
don't stand over top of it if you want to have kids.
I was asking him about that.
Huge magnetic field.
Yeah.
Huge magnetic field.
They're gonna have to build these safety mechanisms so it doesn't fry the cat when the cat runs underneath the car.
Like, we're worried about cell phone interference causing cancer, but we're willing to put a huge magnetic field inside your garage.
I don't know.
What about wireless charging for other devices besides cars?
Okay, so I was walking by the Duracell booth, and the lady literally like grabbed me and was like, "Hey!" That's the other thing. I've been branding things, so now that I have more of an official-looking rig, just the fact that I have like a little microphone tag, people are like, "You must be official," and they're like, "You got to interview us."
I want to talk to you.
You have a mic. And a logo. And a press badge.
You have a logo. You look legitimate.
So anyways, Duracell apparently teamed up with Powermat, which was one of the first companies that was doing wireless induction charging for devices. Like, you had one for your iPhone, right, Raggable?
Yeah, I had it for my 3G.
Yeah. So
it worked really well. I liked it.
Yeah, and it's in the touchpad. That wasn't by Powermat, but same technology. Anyways, they teamed up with Powermat and JayZ.
JayZ?
JayZ.
Wait, what does JayZ have to do with hours and charging and batteries?
He's famous, and he wants to charge things without plugging them in? JayZ makes headphones too, or I thought it was Dr. Dre.
I think they all do.
Dr. Dre makes the Beats headphones.
Yeah.
Isn't it Kanye West with the smart water?
Oh.
I don't know.
Or no, it's 50 Cent. It's 50 Cent.
Oh yeah,
Now
50 Cent,
JayZ.
and it's vitamin water.
Oh yeah, vitamin water.
Anyways, apparently the next Chevy Volt, 2013 or whatever, they're going to be working on an induction charger for them through Duracell.
Guess what you're going to be buying?
No, I'm not buying another car for a while.
Well, do you think they'll make, aftermarket kits to convert it?
I think they will. I think they'll be very expensive though. And that's the other thing that was going on was electric cars. Like, so Ford was saying they have like 7 electric vehicles coming out next year. They've got
7.
Yeah, they got a Focus all electric. They've got a Ford Fusion hybrid plug-in, and then they've got like a mass transit vehicle, and then like a couple other hybrids. So like, wow, that just kind of came out of nowhere. I know they were doing
mass transit vehicle,
or it was like a not a mass transit, but it was like a little utility truck for like companies to buy. It wasn't like for like individual people.
Oh, like those little teeny trucks that seem like they have no engine and everything is squished together.
No, not that small, but yeah.
Oh.
Not big like my truck, but not as small as one of those.
So it's like what they did with the S10. That's where the Ford, what was it called? The little Ford truck went.
Yeah. What are those? The Rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Ford Ranger, maybe a little bit smaller than that.
It's not much smaller, except till you get to like the Chevy Love.
A lot of companies showing off the charging systems though, and over at Mandalay Bay, I was able to charge my car. They had a 4-hour charger.
Does each company have their own charging system?
No, there's a standard now, so everybody uses the new standard.
Standards.
Except for Tesla, because they came out before there was a standard.
Yeah, they were the first ones.
Yeah.
Suckers.
But I think they're going to make adapters for them so they can use the new standard. Maybe. I don't know for sure.
If you can afford a Tesla, you can own your own charger.
But there are companies that are doing some really interesting things for charging these vehicles, though. Solar power, right? So they'll sell you the solar panels to line your roof to generate enough electricity to drive your car for the year, is how they're selling it anyways. So it'll cost like $13,000 or something like that, and they're saying with tax credits it'll end up costing you like $8,000 or $9,000, and then they'll lease it to you or do payments or something like that, and they'll say it'll cost about $70 a month or something.
They'll add it into your mortgage.
$70 a month. You think how much somebody pays for gas or electricity to charge your car?
Exactly, that's their point. They're saying that you can have solar power charge your vehicle for, eventually it'll pay for itself, and then you won't have to pay anything to drive to anybody. That's the theory anyways.
Yeah.
And there was another.
That's a good idea.
There's another company that is in Texas, and they took a whole bunch of old DeLoreans and they converted them into electric, and they're selling them for like $100,000 or some insane price.
Is that something to do with a DeLorean?
And they have a charging network where you pay a flat fee, and the cool thing about this is you pay your $70 a month. They install a charger in your home, and they pay for the electricity to it, and they also let you use anybody's charger on their network. So they have chargers everywhere all over these big metropolitan areas, and you can just charge anywhere for free. Well, not for free, but for your monthly plan.
Weird.
Okay.
An electric
So you got a
charging plan. Are they in your network? That sounds so weird to think of it like that, like a cell phone company.
And the Qualcomm people.
Where's my closest neighbor?
The Qualcomm people, they wanted to put their induction chargers in the road eventually, so that it would just power the car and charge the cars you drive.
And for big cities, I think it's a feasible idea, is to be part of the infrastructure.
I could see it happening like at major intersections and stuff. They could put them in there, and that would help.
Well, think about someplace like New York.
I wouldn't even put them in intersections. I would have an entire parking garage, which is an induction parking garage, where all of the excess tarmac is used as solar, like a solar gathering. Because you could have, if you had a big open parking facility, there's nothing saying that you can't make solar systems that you could drive on. It's just a matter of whether or not, they could actually gather enough information, electricity.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Anyways, it's exciting for me because I got an electric car, but I think they'll eventually be cheaper. Like the pure electrics, they're going to cost way less to make than regular cars. There's nothing to them. There's a big battery and electric motor.
Well, that's the most expensive part, is the battery.
Right now, that's the most expensive part.
Hopefully that cost will come down, but until that
it should. If they're making tons of them, the cost will come down.
And if they can get chargers built into the road, you won't need as big of batteries. I mean, like,
unless you need to travel that long distance.
Or into Wyoming.
I can't imagine putting that sort of charging system in the interstate with a highway.
No, I think that you're gonna pay for your parking spot, and your parking spot's gonna be where you pay the premium, because somehow they're gonna have to charge you for charging your car.
It's interesting what a lot of people are doing that are buying like the Nissan Leaf and stuff. What they just figure out in their little minds is that, well, you know, 90% of the time I'm just going to drive it in town. I can just rent a car if I need to go anywhere further than that, and it costs less than, you know, buying another car or whatever. Or, you know, if they actually travel somewhere, they fly. I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds reasonable enough if you don't travel out of state all that much, or travel between cities.
Yeah. And, you know,
Well,
they're getting more and more stations everywhere.
if you were in a scenario like where I'm at, where we have 2 cars, but the primary use of my car is traveling back and forth to work on a commuter style, and then when we travel otherwise, we travel in the bigger vehicle. You can afford to have a car that's like that.
Yeah, if you got 2 cars in your family, you know, one of them could be an electric. It probably wouldn't be an issue.
Because if you're not just going to zip to town every day, what's the point?
What else is on your list there, Fox? What else did you see?
Okay, so plastered everywhere is the Samsung Note, and it's like,
What?
it's about this big. It's like somewhere between like the size of an iPad and an iPhone. It's
Okay, so it's like the Kindle Fire kind of size.
yeah, well, it's a little bit smaller than that. So I think it's a 5-inch.
Okay.
Or close
so
to
close.
it. Yeah, it's big enough that it can fit in your pocket, but it's also a phone.
Who makes it? Samsung?
Samsung's making it. It's going to come out in a couple months.
So they found out that the Galaxy was just too big to be a phone, so let's go for something a little bit smaller.
It's interesting because it has a stylus. So it's also touchscreen, it's Android, and the really neat thing that they were doing to promote this is they have sketch artists all over the place sketching you, and then they're emailing it back to a silk screening place, and they make t-shirts of your sketch, so you can wear it around the conference with you on it, which is kind of weird. So I went ahead and...
What does that have to do with the actual thing that they're selling?
The fact that you can be really precise by using a stylus, because it works with touch or stylus.
Well, this is interesting because this comes up to something I found out the other day. Did you know that Adobe, because we do a lot of stuff with Adobe products, Adobe has a whole line of now mobile software that is designed for graphic artists to use with a stylus with either their Android or their Apple device, and they can use it, you know, to draw on, go out, you know, take their now sketch pad out to the park, sketch something, save it, and be in full PDF or, Adobe formats.
I bought one of them for my iPad when it first came out. It was pretty cool. I think it was called Sketch. It was Adobe Sketch, but it had layers and everything.
There's 2 or 3 of them now. There's a Photoshop knockoff. There's a couple of them right now that are out there, and it's kind of an interesting concept.
There's people that make these magnetic, not magnetic, but inductive stylus that'll work on any, you know, capacitive touchscreen like an iPhone, iPad, whatever. So that's nothing new, but what's new about it is that their software is kind of designed for note-taking and things so that you can do that, and it's pressure sensitive, which is something you can't do on an iPhone or iPad. The stylus is pressure sensitive. So they were using it to paint and brush strokes and things.
Yeah, because it's not just here and there.
And they're giving them away, and I didn't realize there was a contest, but the person that tweeted the most in the Blogger Lounge, they'd get into a raffle out of 10 people, and they'd win one. And they gave away 2 today.
Wow.
And they don't come out yet, so this person gets one before it even comes out. It'll be interesting to see if people adopt it or not, because it's awkwardly big. But...
Well, if it's something that you're going to pack around, and I hate to sound sexist in this, but if it's something in the size of where it's a little bit bigger, so like it might fit in your purse versus your pocket, it might be something that is like, you know, a big fan of with women. But I can't see packing on a big one, a large... My phone's too big as it is, and I got a small phone.
Well, here's the thing, is that anybody that carries around an iPad, they do it in their laptop case or their laptop backpack.
Yeah. So it's like... I don't know if you'd want something smaller.
This could fit in your pocket, though. I mean, it's big, though.
Like my PSP could fit in my pocket? I love carrying that around.
Yeah. I wish I forgot to even talk about, but I got to play with the Vita, by the way, which is kind of interesting.
How was that?
it's neat. They were showing the Wipeout, and so there were people playing on the Vita and the PS3 together around a table. And the graphics on the PS3 or the Vita actually looked slightly better than the PS3, which was interesting. And it's light. It feels like a toy.
That's what bothers me. If they feel too light, then it's just scary.
Yeah, and it's big. It's bigger than a PSP.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. That's always been my biggest thing with the PSP is how big it is. I never ended up taking it anywhere.
Freakishly small, girlish hands you have.
But they should.
Yeah, the freakishly small pockets.
It's 3G. They might as well make it a phone too if people are gonna be carrying around these tabs. I mean, this is huge old.
Of course, they have need a phone.
Not everything needs to be a phone.
It's got a 3G plan. It's got data.
My phone is my phone.
I don't see why not make the phone and then make it something where you can just say, hey, it's, you know, it doesn't have to be very primary, but if you're gonna have a 3G system. And that, it could be a ring-back secondary phone.
Yeah, like the way Google Voice works. That'd be cool if you could have your devices.
I don't care about anything having any more 3G or LTE. I don't want to buy any more goddamn data plans.
That's when
you're giving it to me for free. I don't care.
That's true. I don't want to pay a data plan either, but I figure if I'm going to pay for a data plan, I want to be able
data plan across all my devices. Great, but if I have to buy a single goddamn one for every single goddamn device with it.
Oh, and that's another really big announcement was with data. VSAT launched their huge satellite this fall into space, and they're going to offer broadband through satellite at a reasonable-ish cost now. They're going to do 10 megabytes down for $50 a month, which is way better than what was previously offered through Wild Blue.
Yeah.
But
Wild Blue was an option. It was high latency, but it was like 3 megabits or something like that.
It was like one-ish.
Cable.
It was one down and less than 56K up. And if you use more than 2 gigs a month, they throttle you down to dial-up speed.
So how is this going to be any better though? Latency's still going to be there.
It's not going to be as bad, or so they say.
How do they bypass that? Unless you're connecting landline with a modem, you're still in a massive latency.
Yeah, from what I've been told, it's a problem of speed of light or something like that from outer space and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
they're just trying to make it sound complicated because they can't solve it.
You still have to have a talkback through the ionosphere. You know, you've got to talk back unless you want to put a dish in your front yard that's, you know, a 6-foot dish. You're talking back through a landline system, which is like doubling your speed or doubling your time.
Well, no. I mean, these are two-way. You don't need a phone line to use them. They do transmit. They just don't transmit as fast. I can't remember what the specs are on the up, but I think this one's supposed to be significantly faster. I think it's supposed to be like a meg up and 10 down. Well, but they're going to cap you at like...
You're still going to have a 2-second talkback.
They're going to cap you at 10 gigs a month, I think, or charge you extra. Yeah.
See, this I can't see this really working because a lot of modern, you know, usage of the internet involves things that are really sensitive to latency, voice, video calling, gaming on even just 360s, PS3s, things like that. Streaming video. Just so much of it is latency related.
Is Netflix sensitive to latency because since it's just a stream that you initiate, it's not really a latency issue on that. So it's only things you talk
there
back.
And you have to wait for the. I don't know. That's a good question. It'd be worth a test, I think.
You're looking at
certainly vulnerable to it.
When I had it before, the latency would range anywhere between 600 milliseconds and like 4,000 milliseconds, which is 4 seconds, right? So between 1 second and 4 seconds, like constantly. So if they got it down to like around 5, maybe that's not bad, half a second, because like half the time the cell is around 300 up to 500. So
and if you're doing streaming and things like that, if you're not doing talkback, like gaming, nightmare. Voice over IP, not even possible. But if you want to talk about like just doing Skype and things like that, yeah, you got a headache, but it's gonna be a little bit. It's kind of like having a conversation with a rack. But
it's going to look like what we're doing right now. You guys are just like little still pictures.
Yeah. Weird poses.
Which
it's Yeah.
Bandwidth issues. CES is major bandwidth issues. When you've got 140,000 people from out of nowhere show up in one tiny spot, it maxes out everybody's data networks. The only one that even remotely comes close to working is Verizon, because they put up like a few dozen different mobile sites and all this extra bandwidth just around the area. iPhone accessories, about the vast majority of this entire show is iPhone accessories. Even though Apple refuses to be a part of the show, everybody else is selling their products for them.
I heard that, you know, it's an Apple lawyer's like wet dream. Like, it's like Apple lawyer can just walk in there, take video of walking through the show, and just sue people for the rest of their life.
So if you look at all these, okay, so that's I think I had that in there. There's the Ultrabooks. They all look like Apple notebooks. Like
Ultrabooks.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Ultrabooks.
Ultra.
Yeah, so Intel made this new thing. They're calling it this design specification called an Ultrabook, and it's basically just a MacBook Air.
Really?
They need to be thin.
So it's like a beefed up netbook then.
Yeah, it needs to have a desktop type of processor, like an i5 or higher, and it needs to have like a 10-hour battery, and it needs to be thin and look sexy.
And made of aluminum. No.
Well, not all of them are made of aluminum, but almost all of them look like they are. They're either plastic and made to look like aluminum.
And this thing is
Speaking of
actually
plastic.
bulky and made of plastic.
Yeah.
This thing that you bought.
Yeah. So and then so I was talking about iPhone accessories. This is like a little lanyard
Oh,
that
you don't
my
have something like that, do you?
iPhone goes into, and
Oh, it's a lanyard for your iPhone?
yeah, so I
And
can
it's
like
got-
get crowd shots and
Oh.
stuff.
Yeah, but it comes with like its own earbuds and
It's
all kinds of
yeah, I'll have
crazy
to show
stuff.
it to you later.
It's weird.
It is weird.
But okay,
But
I
it's an
have
example
to say two
of the weird
things.
stuff they're selling there.
I have to ask two questions before we carry on, neither of which are related to these gadgets. One, why is the picture of Couch Guy it's just like a still image of him with flared nostrils? I mean, it's cool, but
We're having
I
bandwidth
didn't notice
issues.
the flared nostrils before.
okay.
I haven't noticed anything because I'm not frozen.
And then two, where are all the people? Where's the texty, stuff? Do you just not pay attention to that?
The techie stuff?
Pox?
They're right
You
there.
Oh,
missed the
okay.
techie stuff?
I see. Well, Pox just didn't have it pulled up where it's all the stuff that the viewers are
Yeah.
saying.
When
Maybe he just.
we're so far away, it's really difficult sometimes during the show to talk to him. So we would talk to the
Okay.
show.
Yeah,
So
and
he had
Ragwell's
his
got a
little
very noisy
notes
keyboard.
pulled up. I see. I know. I like his keyboard. He's all.
Thank you.
All right, so last couple things real quick. 4K camera from JVC, under $5,000. The images look mediocre.
JVC, that's what's surprising is that JVC was the one that came out with that.
Well, they also
That's
came
like
out.
the blue to
They also came out with like the first HDV camera that was like $4,000. It looked mediocre as well, but the resolution's there.
Of course, the resolution's there. It's just not, putting all the bits together. It's just fuzzy.
Their thing is that it does the compression in camera. Red doesn't do any compression. It just saves a raw file. So the files are huge, massive 4K files. This actually compresses it so you can use it in camera.
Yeah.
and
And-
do what with it? Chew it on your HD screen?
No, actually, yeah. Well, that's another thing. There's a lot of 4K monitors and TVs coming out.
4K monitors?
Yeah, monitors and TVs that are 4K.
I would take a
How much
4K
are the
monitor any day of the week.
I think they're calling them Ultra HD or something like that. Hey, you didn't want to hear
My
anything.
thoughts exactly.
That word for being used for product descriptions, please.
Ultra, ultra, super, mega.
It's basically an 8 megapixel picture is what it is, I believe, is what 4K is. If that makes any sense. And
Yeah.
your HD is like a 2 megapixel, so think about that. Yeah.
Whatever.
But they're promoting it as, you can shoot and then crop. And you can actually do it in camera. So like you can shoot and then you can kind of reframe later. Type of
That's
people
their
are
that's their
lazy.
that's their angle is well, you can worry about framing later.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Soon enough, they'll worry about focus later too.
They just kind of pointed at something.
Oh, there is a camera. There's a camera like that too.
Oh, wow.
It's just still video, and it uses an array of sensors, but it shoots all focal lengths at once. So you pick the focus later. It's interesting. It's like $400, and it looks like a weird little cube.
You and I have a different version of the word interesting.
Anywho,
like
electric bikes. There was several on the floor. They were very interesting and about $2,000, but they charge up and they help you pedal.
You say bike, you mean like Segway kind of bike?
No.
Dirt kind of bike?
Like dirt bikes. Like 10 speeds.
Dirt bike?
More like a 10 speed.
10 speed. Oh, like the sort of kind of bike you give your 10-year-old.
Yeah. Except for they've got,
this costs $5,000.
Yeah, but they've got like a battery. One of them had a battery built into the wheel, and it wirelessly communicated with it. And another one was like really funky looking. You'll have to watch the video. It folds up and like fits in your closet.
It should be able to charge itself if you rub it against right. As it's pedaling it, you should be able to charge itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing new. There's been bikes that do that. They they'll charge up when you're going downhill, when you're braking, when you're pedaling. That way when you're going back uphill it can help you.
They sell a lot of them in Fort Collins.
Yeah. 3D printers, MakerBot's there. They have a pre-made one. I got an interview with the CEO. They had some really cool toys, and they print 2 colors now, and you can make anything.
The only machine that can make itself.
We've seen that stuff before. So is it actually like consumer ready, consumer affordable yet?
Well, it's like $2,000-ish.
What was the little poppy noise?
There.
Yeah. Well, when we were looking at having stuff made for us, just one prototype was going to cost us that much. So, like, to buy a whole kit to make your own, wow, that's dirt cheap. Plus, I think they're going to make it so that you can just order from them, like, pieces much cheaper, too.
Well, in reality, I think they've designed that thing so that if you had to, with the exception of the metal parts, you can make its parts for it.
Yeah, they did
part.
The first edition, and they said the second edition, they worked out all the bugs, and they got it working really well, and they said it's easier for them to assemble it than it is to sell you a kit now. But they said if you really want to, you can take it apart and reassemble it if you want to. But it makes much bigger objects. Like they did the cube from the Portal. And it was it was like this big.
Cube.
Yeah, a companion cube.
Hey, can you bring back a companion? One of those. Can you get one of those?
I don't think they'd give one to me.
I want one of those. I want a 3D printed companion cube.
We already got you gifts, man. Come on, Chris.
And then, I guess that's everything, because I already talked about the Ultrabooks. Lenovo had a really cool one that looked exactly like a MacBook Air. But the interesting thing is the screen folded backwards onto itself. So you could use it like a tablet, and it shuts off the keyboard. So the keyboard's resting on your tab, on you, and you're, yeah.
Way to pull out my earbud.
Come out when Windows 8 comes out, like in the fall, and it was actually very slick looking. They were demoing Windows 8 on it, and it looked actually good.
What did Windows 8 look like to you on those tablets? What was your impression?
It looks. Have you ever seen a Windows phone or a Zune?
No, I haven't yet.
It looks exactly like a Windows phone.
Yeah. Well, no, they're really cool. They just don't have all the functionality yet. I think personally, they have no apps. But I think they're slick. Eventually, someday they might be useful. I don't know. I also thought the same thing about Palm.
Yeah, well. Alright, so I'm dying to know, what is it that they're coming out with that we've been doing?
The TVs, the media centers. Everybody's making they're putting this stuff on there. And me and Raggable were doing this with the Xbox, like, almost 10 years ago.
That's how far behind, consumer electronics are. They want to, well...
Like, we were hacking iPhones and putting apps on them before there were apps on them. And it's all this stuff that people hack to do and add functionality. It takes them like 3 or 4 years to actually hit the real, the mass market and be developed into products.
Well, in the instance of TVs, it's taken them, or in like a set-top boxes, that's taken a long time to really pick up any kind of steam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably because, due to the whole legality of it.
Well, and like electric cars too. People have been building their own electric cars out of lead-acid batteries and things. There's been all kinds of projects where people do it for like under $1,000. They'll take junk golf carts and convert their old cars into electric cars. That's all these things hackers are doing. They're finally, you know, mass market's catching up, where they're thinking there's enough consumer demand because people are doing it on their own.
I read this really interesting article that said that CES for the last few years has turned out to be the biggest display of products you'll never see because all the businesses go under.
I don't doubt that.
The largest display of duds. It was, I think, what they thought of that.
I wouldn't say duds, just stuff that, I don't know, sounds neat, but just doesn't have a whole lot of mass appeal to make it affordable.
Or it's too expensive, frankly.
That's the other thing, too. So.
Well, a lot of these companies have put all their money into going to CES and showing off their product. There's this one company that made these jelly bean boards that I was interviewing. And that's the same kind of thing. Like, these guys, they probably spent, I don't know how much money developing this product, and they're going to CES and they're really hoping that they'll, you know, get put in a Walmart or something. They'll get distribution and sell a whole bunch. It is actually a really cool product. It was like a little laptop thing that you put on your lap, and they sold it to me really well. I can't do it, but it absorbed heat and it was cheap and it looked cool, and you had a place for your mouse. But yeah,
that's the sort of thing that you could push out to Walmart or, you know, department stores.
Yeah, it looked cool, and they were giving away jelly beans, so, you know.
Jelly beans. You just wanted the jelly beans.
People that give away popcorn, jelly beans, and then have apparently the strippers from Vegas on stage all seem to gather a lot of attention.
Oh, imagine that, huh?
Funny.
And on that note of Sprint's sponsor unfriendliness, we'll end the show. This marathon hour-long show.
Has it been an hour?
48 minutes.
Oh, God.
Well, you know.
As always, please subscribe to our feed on whatever way you're watching this, either subscribing through iTunes or on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Walking Crow, posting random facts about CES and things. There's at Raggable and at Tommy5C. And at Hope Girl here.
Yep.
Yay!
See you guys next week, and we will get back to some hacking, and in the meantime there'll probably be a series of CES videos.
Yay, CES videos!
This has been a Two Smart Guys production.
One of these days these boots are gonna. Yes, you are. Walk right over. Thank you, ladies. Give them a round of applause. You know they're hot. It's hard to wear those shorts that early.